Hi. So I'm just going to show you how to put Noctua fans in your Xbox 360. And I'm just going to get straight to it because otherwise, you would have clicked on tutorial and had to sit through all the stuff. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need the FN A6X25 fans from Noctua, and you've got to make sure that they are the 12 volt 3-pin versions of the fan, because otherwise if it's the 4-pin version, it should be fine. It's just the 3-pin version makes it easier. But if it's only the 5-volt version of the fan, then it's going to break the fan, and that would be bad. So the first thing you're going to want to do once you've got your Xbox open, I've just got my disk drive kind of sat on the side there, is you're going to want to take out these fans. These fans. And to do that, it's a bit difficult, especially with one hand, because I'm holding my phone to record this. But you just need to pull up this metal bit. And again, this metal bit can be quite difficult to pull up because it's metal. So what you're going to need to do, you're going to need to pull up this corner and this corner of the fan and just kind of push here, like on the back where the fans are. And yeah, there you go. It should pop out. And then you just kind of pull this part until it does that, and then you can just pull it out here. And there's these little rubber feet on the fans that will go into that hole there, and there's one on the other side as well. So just if it's not coming out, just check that, or the clips at the top here. And obviously this I had taken off the fan duct already. And then once you've done that, you've got this 3-pin connector. Some of them, some Xboxes also have a 4-pin connector, which I will go over as well. It can work with the 4-pin too. But if you've got the 4-pin, then you just need to hold down the little tab that's on the header and then pull it out. But with the 3-pin one, it's kind of clipped in there. There you go, you can see it's kind of clipped in. So you can't just pull it straight out. You've kind of got to put it to the side and pull it out diagonally. And if you just, do that kind of gently like I did. There you go, sorry. Did you see that? I don't know, I'll do it again just in case you didn't see it. So you just pull it like that, and then pull it out at the same angle. So you can just do that angle, it'll come out nice and easily. And then you've got your fans taken out of your Xbox. So then once you've done that, you're going to need your Noctua fans. Now, in the end, they'll end up looking like this, because this is this is my Xbox 360 Elite, which I've already modded. So I'm just going to show you what you need to do with a fan splitter that I have. Just so I don't have, because you have to cut some cables, and I've cut the cables already. So I'm just going to show you with the fan splitter that I have. I'll be back in a sec. There you go, this is the fan splitter I'm using. So the Noctua fans, right? Usually both the fans are connected to a header of their own, but you can see, here we go, you can see what cables are heading into the header. And obviously you can see these cables on the original Xbox fans. You've got the red and the brown wire, which are two, live wires for the Xbox. And then you've also got this black and blue wire heading into the middle. That is both the neutral wires for these fans. Obviously, if you've got the 4-pin version, then you should have a blue wire going into one thing, and then a black wire going into the other, and then a red and a brown going into their right. So that's fine. Then what you're going to do, if you've got the 3-pin version, I can't show you with the 4-pin version, but you're going to have to do it with the 4-pin version of them fans anyway. You're going to have to take the cables out of the header. And to do that with this 3-pin connector, again, I don't know how to do it with a 4-pin connector. You're going to have to figure that out. But you're going to take out all of the cables, right? So to do that with the 3-pin connector, you need to get something in where their metal parts are. And you see how they're kind of like clips. You're going to push down on them, and then you're just going to pull it out. So I'm just going to do that with this. If I can stand my phone up somewhere, that would be helpful so I can show you. But you should be able to, yeah, there you go, you can see. So what you want to do is you want to get something thin and just push it into these gaps. I'm using a pair of tweezers myself. But what you do, you just push it into the gaps, and then it's a bit difficult, but you just kind of wiggle it out. And then there you go, you've got one connector out. And then you just do it for each of them. and it can be a bit finicky, especially since the Noctua fans have a cover over them. But if you're able to do that, then you're pretty close to, you know, having your fans in the Xbox. Okay, you know what, I can't actually do it with this right now, but that's fine. You're gonna have to take out all the cables for your Noctua fan. I'm just gonna put these cables back in here, right? Because, you know, it would be handy to have this fan splitter still. So let me just do that. Okay, so now that you've done that, you should have two cables for your Noctua fans that look like this, and there will be a yellow cable in there as well. But as you can guess, we're going to cut off the yellow cables, so just do that now. You just need to cut off the yellow cables for your fans. And then with one of the headers, right? Obviously, if you're using the 3-pin header, then you can just follow this. But if you're using the 4-pin header, if you've got fans which use the 4-pin header, you're going to have to take the header off of the original Xbox and make sure you remember where these cables are going in. Because what you're going to do, we're going to be putting the cables for the Noctua fans in the same holes as where these cables go in for the original Xbox fans. So if you've got the 3-pin one, with the original Xbox, you've got a power on both sides. So you're just going to, oh yeah, and also if you've got the 3-pin header, right? These, one side, right? One side of the headers will have like that little clip, and the other side will kind of be spun around. So what you're going to do, you're going to put it in so that the clip is facing in where them holes are. So what you can do with both the Noctua fans, you're going to put a red wire on one side of one of the fans. Obviously it can, especially since I've taken this one out a few times because I had to figure out how to actually put it together. But you're just going to plug it in, and it can be a bit difficult sometimes, but you're going to have to figure it out. It should be easy enough for you though, because your ones haven't been bent as much. So I'm just going to clip this in on one side, put that there. There you go, that's in. And then with the other fan, obviously this is the other fan, you're going to put its red wire on the other side, right? Just, you know, like this. There you go, that was easy. Now that you've done that, you're going to have to put the black wires in the middle. It may have been easier to put the black wires in first. The black cables in the same hole, so they just get a bit squished sometimes. So my cable's a bit squished, so I'm just going to put the other one in first. Here you go. Pop that in. And, for God's sake, can you go in? I'd love it if you were to go in. Yes, okay, that's in. And then you're going to put the other black cable from the other fan into the same hole as the first black cable. Now, you are going to have to just kind of ram it in there. It's not actually been designed by Noctua to fit to, but it does if you just ram it in. There you go. That's why mine was bent a bit, because I rammed it in. But yours will work too, and it's all good. And it can be sticking out a little bit like that if you know that it's not just going to fall out, which mine looks like it should be all right. It's just, you know, I originally had it so they're actually quite nicely in there. So I'm going to try and get them nicely in there. I use my tweezers to push it in. Just, ram it in there. There you go, that's as good as I'm going to get it. So again, if you've got the 4-pin version of the Xbox fans, you're just going to have to put so basically the black cables correspond to the black and blue cables for the Xbox 360 fans, and the red cables correspond to the red and brown cables. So you're just going to have to remember where the cables were for the Xbox 360 one if you have the 4-pin version, and you're just going to put a red cable in where the red cable goes, a red cable in where the brown cable goes, a black cable in where the black cable goes, and a black cable in where the blue cable goes. But once you've done that, then it'll be all set up for putting it in the Xbox, which is quite easy. But before you put it in the Xbox, you're actually going to have to take off some corner of each fan. And I've got my fans so that they go in here you go. I've got my fans so that they're going upside down, right? So I've got the arrows on the top. So if you do arrows on the top, there you go. Sorry, I wasn't pointing the phone at the thing. So if you've got the arrows on the top like I do, then just put them next to each other like this so that the cables are on the back of the fan there. And then mark this corner on this fan and this corner on the other fan, and you're going to cut them off. So I recommend using a hacksaw for this because, you know, using something like a kitchen knife, it took me 50 minutes to do, I think it was 50 minutes to do this one because I was using a kitchen knife. And then my dad told me that he had a hacksaw that I could use. So I used it for this and it took me like 10 seconds. So yeah, use a proper tool for that. Don't make my mistake. So yeah, just mark the corners you're going to cut off and then cut off the corners. Try and make it clean. And you're just going to basically cut it as close down to the edge as you can, right? So as you can see with it's the entire hole has been cut off and it's just been cut down to this pillar. And again, if you can try and make it as like perfectly diagonal as possible, that will help you out. But it's just, you do this so that you can put the fan cover back on the fan duct back on the top. Because if you can't put the fan duct on the top, then it's going to be bad for airflow and it won't actually benefit your Xbox. But once you've done that, right, you're literally just going to stick these in here and then turn the Xbox around. Right, yeah, here we go. And you see the fans. Now make sure that the cut-off corners are on the outsides, because otherwise the fan duct won't fit. Once you've done that, you're actually just gonna line it up with here you go. You're gonna line the holes up with the holes on the bottom and try and do it the same as what I've done, right? So as you can see with this fan that I'm moving by the power cable, with this spot where there's no holes, I'm lining one of them up there, right? That's where I'm lining one up. And then I'm just gonna screw it in with the screws included with the Noctua fans, okay? Because they work well. So yeah, you're just gonna line that up and then screw it in, and then yeah, I'll just do that real quickly. So once you've put in the first fan, the screws should look like this, and you'll have none in the top because it simply doesn't work, but it doesn't matter because it ain't moving anywhere. So yeah, you've got the first one in like this, so you know, that's where the screws would be. And then the second one, you're gonna line it up so that that hole is right at the edge of where it can possibly go. And then that one's gonna be like that. And just bear in mind, both of these will be a little bit off of the bottom, but it's fine because the screws hold them in perfectly. So yeah, once you've lined that up, you're just gonna, you know, screw it in. And I've got my ones, right? My ones are upside down. If yours aren't upside down, it shouldn't really matter as long as you've got the cut off corners on the outsides. So yeah, just gonna put that in and I'll be right with you. Okay, so once your fans are in place, you should have them both like this. So they're basically just like as far over that way as they can possibly be whilst being in the sections for each fan. You're gonna turn your console back round again just to make it easier for yourself. And then you're gonna take your fan header, and obviously if you've got the 3-pin one, it should look, here we go, it should look like that. So you've got both the red cables going onto each end and then the black cable going in the middle. Obviously if you've got the 4-pin version, then just make sure the cables are actually lined up how they were on the original Xbox. And then you're just gonna like plug it into the 3-pin fan header. And it may be a little bit difficult because obviously you've just rammed 2 cables into one hole for the connector, but it will go on like that. There you go. Yeah, that will go on, so don't worry. And then if you've wired them like me, I'm just gonna tuck in this cable. So for this fan first, right? I'm just gonna tuck it under, and then I'm gonna do the same with this cable. And I like to get just something kind of thin to just like poke it in, you know, just like squish it in there. It just makes it easier to put on the fan duct when you do this. Okay, there you go. So once they've been tucked under, just kind of pop these down. Just kind of just mush them down, you know. There you go. Yeah, as long as they're like that, just make sure they're not like this, because otherwise the fan duct won't go on. So yeah, you can just kind of like mush them down a little bit so they're not going over the actual shell or chassis of the Xbox. And then once you've done that, you're just going to put this back on. The little clip on it, right? So that little clip there will sit quite nicely, just like right in between there and this bit. So we'll just kind of slide in there, and it will be at a little bit of an angle, right? So if you just push it, when you just push it up against there. If it's not at an angle, then great job, you've cut off enough of the corners. But mine just goes on a tiny little bit of an angle like that, because the corners aren't quite cut off as much as they could be. But again, this is fine because the disk drive will keep this in place. So yeah, you're just going to pop the disk drive back on top, making sure to line it up with the fan cover or fan duct. It can be, because obviously, you know, there we go. And then once that's in, right, it keeps this in place perfectly fine. You know, again, it might be just a tiny bit of an angle, but it doesn't matter because it's just bringing air from here. And I believe it's the CPU cooler under the disk drive. It's just bringing air, then directing it from these through the back rather than just the entire console. But yeah, once you've done that, you're just going to put your Xbox back together and it should work. But before you put it back together, I do highly recommend that you take it over to its power supply, or take its power supply over to it, right? And just like check that it actually spins up the fans, because if it doesn't spin up the fans, then it means you've wired it wrong, right? So I'm just going to plug that in and then pop it up there. And I'm going to like click the button, right? Because you can actually just, if you can see that, there's a little button right there that you can click with either your finger, if you're able to, like just like that, or like a thin set of pliers. That was just my disk drive doing stuff. So what you want to do, you just want to check the fans are spun up, which my ones have done. You can kind of hear them ever so slightly, but that's because they're fans, but they really won't get any louder than this. And then, yeah, if they do spin up, then great, just turn the console back off with the button. If they don't spin up, then you're gonna have to unplug them and rewatch the tutorial just so that you get everything done properly. And then once they do actually spin up, you're gonna take it back to wherever you're working on it. Once you've unplugged it, and then yeah, just kind of put it back together, which is pretty simple, really. If you've taken it apart, you should know how to put it back together. It's kind of like, you know, clip. Make sure that they're lined up. Same with there. Door. Just push it down a bit and then pop the eject button back on. I always end up forgetting to do that. There you go. Pop that on, and yeah. I mean, hey, if you've taken it apart, you should know how to put it back together. So yeah, you're going to need your little star-looking screw, little star-looking screw head like that. And you're just going to pop it in your screwdriver. If I can do that. I've got one hand to do this with. There you go. Put that in your screwdriver. See the magnet on mine's broken. Like it's kind of just fallen out. So I need to put that back in, and it just makes it a little bit annoying. But yeah, just going to put all of these in here, and you only need to take out the long silver screws. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, see, as you can see here, this is the fan duct, and obviously it's not quite lined up. So what you can do, if you just put it in at an angle and move it, and then just gonna like make sure it goes down there. The screws keep the fan duct in the right position as well. So, you know, if it is in at an angle, then the screws should work pretty good to keep it like that. Oh, let me make sure that's there. There you go. Once you've done that, you just make sure this is on the right way, unlike I did it just then, and like line it up. And then, you know, once that's lined up, you can kind of just push it down at the front. So make sure they're all right. There you go. Yep. There you go. It's all just clipped in nicely. And at the back, just, you know, pop it all back together. What you do, right, instead of, if it won't go down, then put one finger on the back of the top and one finger on the front of the bottom. And actually, I recommend doing it on this side first. And just push it down, because that lines everything up. There you go. That's all clipped down. And then put the bottom of the Xbox-ness on the Xbox. And then, here we go. Just click that in. Is that in properly? There we go. Yeah, that's in properly. And take the top, this bit, and put it in the top. Just again, make sure it's actually going in properly. And obviously, my one's hard drive is over by my TV because I took it out to make this video. But you know, and obviously remember, if you know, the eject button, if you've not put the eject button in, you're going to need to take it apart and put the eject button back in. And then, oh yeah, also, because this one was secondhand, I actually managed to find it at a charity shop for a tenner, and it was broken. So I bought it and I fixed it. So yeah, these bits kind of lost their springs, right? So I just have to do that and then put it on. Yeah, and just kind of clip it all together. Again, with one hand, this is not actually as easy as you might expect. Okay, there you go. And then, yeah, that is Noctua fans installed on your Xbox 360. Ta-da! So, you know, good job. You did it. You put Noctua fans in your Xbox 360.